How's it going, Gon here? Don't be like me. Never create an interdimensional remote. Look where it got me. It's been 2 years since the incident and, well, I'm starving. But we can think about food later on. Let's continue on with the commercials.
Get my fire! Now open your wings! You can do it! Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up! To the top of the world!
The third generation of consoles had one of the best collection of commercials I've ever seen yet, with ads focusing more on showing something that sticks with the viewer instead of showing actual gameplay. You may say it's a problem, but it was the 90s, nowadays we would never get an Australian man telling us that Nintendo is the best. But damn, the fourth generation is an intense era for commercials. I've tried to avoid the fourth generation commercial wars rabbit hole for long enough. I think it's finally time to talk about the time where Nintendo and Sega used commercials to compete with each other. Actually, I'll make this segment as brief as possible because I don't want it to take the entire talk and make it the focal point. Believe me, there's a lot of good commercials in this era, the Nintendo commercials aren't the only ones. Let's get this over with. Sega released the Sega Genesis in the US in 1989. Sega was ahead of the competition with a 16-bit system. The TurboGrafx 16 was already a thing, but come on, do you seriously think someone knew what that was in America? But comparing Sega to Nintendo, Sega clearly had a superior console on their hands. For now. And Sega with their cocky ass released one of the most infamous commercials of all time.
Genesis does. Genesis does. Genesis does. Genesis does. What Nintendo?
Genesis does what Nintendo, they said. What a f***ing load of bullshit. Can't the Genesis run something that isn't Michael Jackson, American football or columns? Fuck, this reminds me how weak the Genesis launch titles were. This was a blow for Nintendo of America. But not long after, the Super Nintendo made its way to North America, and that flipped the competition.
Nintendo never did a commercial towards Sega when the SNES launched. Just making a commercial about the console was enough.
But Sega did the unthinkable. They launched Sonic the Hedgehog, the best game about the worst rodent in the world. The commercial made for Sonic the Hedgehog depicts a man comparing Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario World and how Sonic is faster and better than that old plumber. Who cares about Mario, am I right? It was bad. The commercial Sega made afterwards towards Nintendo sucked. The story has already been overtold dozens of times. Let's move on to the nitty-gritty. Let's start off with a Game Gear commercial attacking the Game Boy. Yeah, so, to promote their first portable console in the United States, Sega made a commercial directly attacking the Game Boy. The commercial shows some dork playing Game Boy and is not satisfied about it not having any colors, so he hits his head with a stick, cartoon style. Dude, I don't know what to say. Then they tell you that the Game Gear is better because it has colors? Look, Sega's lied before with that blast processing shtick, but this is just absurd. The Game Gear is ass and the Game Boy Color would release only a few years later, so On the topic of portable consoles, remember that time where they got Tobey Maguire to star on an Atari Lynx commercial? That was kinda ridiculous, but sure. One of my favorite commercials of this era, the Super Mario RPG Japanese commercial. Yeah, Piranha Plant sang prior to Mario Wonder and whatever that was. It's a good ad, shame that they never remade a new one for the 2023 remake, though I really enjoyed the fan remix of this one. The Legend of Zelda is pretty good, but I wish they could just dance. A commercial for A Link to the Past from Japan. This one is funny, I just wonder where that Canon puppet is now. Many old commercials like this sometimes used puppets or animatronics, but most of them are hard to track down where they currently reside. Let's just hope they weren't perished. Speaking of Zelda and puppets, take a look at this one for Link's Awakening on the Game Boy.
This is literally the worst ad I've ever seen.
Jokes aside, better than that one Game Gear commercial, even if they don't share any similarities. Mortal Kombat has been through a lot over the years. It contributed to the birth of the rating system, had a midlife crisis for a while, released Mortal Kombat vs DC, and Johnny Cage. The first Mortal Kombat was something special when it first came out. Even better was when it made its way to home consoles. The commercial announcing the launch of MK to the SNES and Genesis are engraved in everyone's minds. It's one of the most iconic ads of all time. I just can't get over the fact that they used the Mortal Kombat scream from the main theme in a kid. They later remade this one for Mortal Kombat 1 in 2023, and it's a solid remake. But when Mortal Kombat 2 released, one of the best commercials that has ever graced TV aired for the first time. The Mortal Kombat 2 commercial is an absolute masterpiece. No joke, they went overboard with this one. It's insanely good. Probably my favorite commercial of this whole generation. This is just a funny one that I needed to mention. A Japanese commercial for the game Dragon Ball Z Super Gokuden 2, showing Frieza, Ginyu and Vegeta playing SNES. Yeah, they be here playing Shaq Fu after blowing up a planet and killing each other. Love to see it.
Sonic the Hedgehog has received many peculiar ads during this gen.
The first we're gonna take a look from Edgeboy here is from Sonic 2's US campaign, which is kinda odd. So basically, they incentivize everyone to buy Sonic 2 because it's the best thing of all time. It does absolutely everything. I mean, the movie was better, but sure. The Sonic and Knuckles ad is an odd one too. So a couple of elves sold the idea of Sonic and Knuckles to Santa, but he disapproved it. But Sega came along and completely bought the idea and made a game off of it.
It's revolutionary!
You just laughed at us. So we sold the whole thing to Sega?
Who's laughing now? Batman!
Okay, seems accurate. This one right here isn't anything spectacular, but I need to include at least something from my country. A Toys R Us commercial from the mid-90s promoting Sonic 1, a Mega Drive, and a Disney Magic Ball? Does it tell me when the next Disney movie is coming out?
Yeah, speaking of Portuguese commercials, let's see what more commercials came from my country.
We didn't get anything crazy like the Mortal Kombat commercials or the Mario RPG commercial, but we got some decent ads. You got a ton of Mega Drive commercials in Portugal, since Sega reigned supreme, and those commercials had that radical and extreme feel that Sega went in the US, but just toned down a bit. Now Nintendo on the other hand, not many are in the internet, but we have a Super Game Boy and a Donkey Kong Country commercial. This one was the generation where video games got some sort of popularity in Portugal, but believe me, in the 5th generation it gets even bigger. With Super Mario Kart, I'm gonna show you the duology of commercials in the US. Over in America, we had this commercial for Super Mario Kart.
Mix it up for the big boys. See Bowser and his big foot-dropping truck. See Yoshi's go-kart really go. Mushrooms, banana peels, turtle shell. Dynamite. Check your rear view and make them eat dust.
And still, in the same place, we got this gorgeously made animated commercial of Super Mario Kart. Like, Nintendo was so unsure which commercial they would use, so they released both. Honestly, I respect that. Moving over to India, of all places, Sega made one of the weirdest commercials I've ever seen. This kid just gets blasted with Sega garbage by Sonic. I love it. A while ago I was talking about the Super Mario RPG and Mortal Kombat 2 commercials and how those are one of the best commercials I've ever seen. But this one for Final Fantasy IV takes the cake. This is the best thing I've seen today. It single-handedly convinced me to pick up an ostrich.
It's a Chocobo, bitches.
We went from cute to simply terrifying. You think of Yoshi's Island, you think of cute names, sus mountains, dad jokes about taxes. But this commercial just doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with Yoshi. My guy just eats everything in sight and explodes all of a sudden.
Is there any commercial worse than this?
New Kirby Superstar, only on SNES. Can your system handle it?
Oh, not really.
Kirby Superstar is one of the best Kirby games I've ever played. It's a personal favorite, I love it to death and it's very nostalgic. But the commercial they did for it is hideous. Someone needs to be studied at Nintendo. I smell someone with an odd kink. It's ass, but the Yoshi's Island one is by far the worst. This one is one of my favorites from their rivalry ads. This one is for Street Fighter 2 on the Genesis. I love how Blanka's hand just pops up from the box and smashes Mortal Kombat instantly. I hated this ad at age 7, since I was a big Mortal Kombat fanboy. I can't say the same to me nowadays.
Look how the tides have turned.
Now to send off the commercials from the 4th generation, we have an ad that genuinely terrified me when I was a kid, and it still kinda terrifies me to this day. This is an American ad for the Sega CD. It made its way to many other countries including not Portugal. Why is it so scary? Well, the ad is similar to the Indian one we took a look earlier, but this one it's a guy talking about the Sega CD. Which makes it even worse, I hate that junction of plastic and technology. Oh, the commercial also was a Nintendo joke. Very clever. But the actual frame that scared me was this one. It's the very final frame of the commercial and catches you off guard. Like, what did the Sega CD do to his face? This singular piece of advertisement from the 90s of a failed product took many nights of sleep to kid me, and I weirdly love it for it. I won't elaborate, we're done here. From the first 4 generations we've taken a look at, the 4th gen of commercials is by far the best one. Seriously, the 5th to 9th generation still made some pretty good commercials, but the 4th generation is the one where I always come back to, with the greatest ads and creativity. It might be my favorite gen in terms of commercials, to be honest, but we have to wait and see.
This was a wonderful yap sesh, but it didn't beat my hunger, and I'm not even going to try to eat an ostrich. Well, at least I'm on a good void. Very cozy around here, I must say. Gotta be honest, not much change from being in the void to inside the TV. It feels the same around here.